We invented it last night, and I don't think Mike knows it yet. But we're gonna play it anyways.
That was your cue.
Vitalogy is Pearl Jam's third studio album and is the follow-up to their highly successful 1993 release, Verses. With Verses, you get more of an open-ended sound and the feel of the band jamming and collaborating on the spot. However, Vitalogy took on more of a darker, heavier tone, and in fact, the album remains the band's heaviest sounding album that they ever released. Vitalogy means the study of life, and in fact the band wanted to call the album Life. But in the end they went with Vitalogy, and that album title comes from an early 20th century medical book that Eddie Vedder found at a garage sale. This book was also the inspiration for the album's cover art and liner notes. Bassist Jeff Ament stated, "Ed brought in that book and we said, man, that would make a great album cover." From Verses onwards, the band had tried to take different approaches to packaging their records. And talking about Vitalogy, Ament said, "We tried really hard to make it like a book, kind of tipped it so it opened horizontally, which pissed off record stores. They had to put it in sideways." Packaging their album this way would cost the band an extra 50 cents per copy to make, and to add to that, the medical book that they used was still under copyright. So they had to confer with their lawyers on what material they could and couldn't use.
Well, the 90s, that was a tough time. There was a big transition from, working a day job and being a struggling musician and having, just trying to get shows for your band. All of a sudden we're on tour with the Chili Peppers and we're going to Europe and we're on Lollapalooza and we're, it's like all of a sudden the world's our oyster, and then it really blows up and we go home and all of a sudden you can't go to the store without like 10 people stopping you to talk to you, and life gets complicated. And I started just like bailing. I started going to Montana, which is where I grew up. I just took myself out of the loop. And so even if there was an opportunity at that point to talk through things, like I just wasn't physically there. I couldn't handle it.
The band worked with now famed producer Brendan O'Brien once again. They had, of course, worked with him on their previous record, Verses. Tensions within the band had dramatically increased by the time they were working on Vitalogy. Producer O'Brien said, "Vitalogy was a little strained. I'm being polite. There was some imploding going on." And Jeff Ament said that communication was at an all-time low. Drummer Dave Abruzzi stated that the communication problem started once guitarist Stone Gossard stopped acting as the band's mediator. According to Gossard, Vitalogy was the first album for which lead vocalist Eddie Vedder made the final decisions. At the time, Gossard was even thinking of quitting the band, and he added that 80% of the songs on Vitalogy were written 20 minutes before they were recorded. And to add to this disarray within the band, during the production of the album, lead guitarist Mike McCready went into rehabilitation to receive treatment for alcohol and drug abuse. "I was drunk and making an ass out of myself," recalled guitarist Mike McCready. "I didn't know how to relate to Eddie, and after the band really took off, I went off in my own world." Vedder was wanting more creative control with the band, and this was also causing tension. Along with being the lead singer, he had now begun to play the guitar, which wasn't an easy transition, said producer Brendan O'Brien. "How do you squeeze everybody in?" By 1994, Vedder had almost fully taken charge of the band's musical direction, writing more of the songs himself rather than working in collaboration with his bandmates. Vedder said, "I was kind of becoming the most recognizable guy in the group. I needed to be more represented musically. And if that meant me creating the songs that were going to accomplish that, then I had to do it."
Back in music news, Pearl Jam's new album Vitalogy was released on CD and cassette this week, with the vinyl-only version already at number 55 on the charts. Vitalogy is expected to enter the pop albums chart at number 1 a week from Monday, and stores coast to coast told us it's been their top seller this week.
The album was first released on vinyl on November 22, 1994, and held the record for LP sales, selling 34,000 copies in its first week. And it was 2 weeks later, on December the 6th, 94, that the album was released on CD and cassette. And this is where the album blew up, selling almost 900,000 copies in its first week of release. With those CD and cassette sales, the album hit number 1 on the Billboard 200 chart and has since gone on to be certified 5 times platinum. That's over 5 million copies sold. Vitalogy is 14 tracks of hard, heavy grunge rock by Pearl Jam, with songs like Spin the Black Circle, Not For You, and Corduroy. But on the flip side of that, you get some beautiful, softer moments with tracks like Nothingman and Better Man. 3 singles were released from Vitalogy: Spin the Black Circle, Not For You, and Immortality. And in 2011, the album was re-released with verses as part of a deluxe expanded edition, where you had the remastering of both albums, various bonus tracks, new artwork, and more.
I was having maybe as hard a time as any, if not more so, figuring it out at the time. But I just never felt like that there was any kind of fragility in the band. I mean, I don't think, I mean, we've never had like a knockdown drag out or someone left the room and we never talked to them again for 6 months. I mean, that's going to never happen. But, you know, because I was even having a hard time. It sounds so funny now. It just sounds funny. And looking back and reading an interview where you complain about, you know, success, I get it. And I get how that came off. But it was difficult. And it was weird, and it wasn't what we were used to, or it wasn't something we were going to get used to. Right. More importantly,
Vitalogy would mark the final album for drummer Dave Abruzzese, who had joined the band on their Versus album. Abruzzese drums on the entire album on all but 2 tracks, and they are the songs Satan's Bed and the final track, Stupid Mop. The drums on Satan's Bed were performed by the drum tech Jimmy Shoaf, as on the day that song was recorded, Abruzzese was in the hospital having his tonsils removed. And months after finishing the initial recording sessions for Vitalogy, Abruzzese was fired in August of 1994 due to personality conflicts with other band members. Gossard said, "For whatever reason, his ability to communicate with Ed and Jeff was very stifled. I certainly don't think it was all Dave Abruzzi's fault that it was stifled." And this is where you get Jack Irons, former drummer for the Red Hot Chili Peppers, coming in. He joined the band right at the end of the making of Vitalogy and drummed on that final track, Stupid Mop. Talking about the album's sound, guitarist Mike McCready said, "There is some weird stuff on there," and attributed that to the fact that the album was recorded while the band was on tour. Vitalogy was the first Pearl Jam album where Eddie Vedder played the guitar and wrote several songs. Stone Gossard said, "This is so different. Is anyone going to like this? It had a more punk feel to it. Simple songs recorded very quickly." Mike McCready said, "The album has a notable lack of guitar solos compared with the band's first 2 albums. Vitalogy is not really a solo album. I don't think the songs demanded solos. It was more of a rhythmic album." And you want to talk about interesting soundscapes and musical inserts? Well, in between all your hard and heavy rock songs, you have moments like the track Pry 2, a 1-minute interlude with Vedder repeating the lines PRIVACY is priceless to me. And don't forget about track 9, Bugs, where Eddie Vedder straps on his accordion and sings the lyrics, "Do I eat them? Raw or well done? Do I trick them? I don't think they're that dumb." The song was reportedly inspired by Vedder's recent bout with Poison Oak. Throw in other moments like the song I Davanita, another unconventional Pearl Jam song on the album, and the final track, Stupid Mop, which is one of the names the song is known as, which is over 7 minutes of blended voices of mental hospital patients which Vedder had taped off his TV when he was a teenager, with an improvised backing track added. Vedder called it our most emotional and moving song. Spin the Black Circle was the first single released from Vitalogy, and that came out in early November ahead of the album's release. I remember wanting everything to be faster, said Vedder. Stone gave me this riff. I had a speed control machine. I speeded it up, came back and said, "Can we do it this way?" Guitarist Mike McCready said that the track proved to be one of the more challenging songs for him. I actually overdubbed those leads, but when I do it live, that riff is so hectic and frantic, I have to be warmed up or it sounds really shitty. Spin the Black Circle was the only song from Vitalogy to enter the Billboard Top 40, reaching number 18. And the song would also give the band their first Grammy Award, winning in 1996 for Best Hard Rock Performance.
Well, we just came to relax. I just wanted to watch the show. I hate to start off with a bang. I'm going to say something typically me on behalf of all of us. I don't know what this means. I don't think it means anything. That's just how I feel. There's too many bands, and you've heard it all before, but my dad would have liked it. My dad died before I got to know him. He would have liked it, so that's why I'm here. Thanks, I guess.
Thanks a lot. We'd like to thank Dave Abraziz, too, and all our families and friends.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. This is very interesting. I'd like to thank the other Seattle factions, like the Mighty Alice in Chains, that are here tonight.
Monster Friday, nothing left to subtract. Some words were spoken, can't be taken back. Walks on his own, with thoughts he can't help thinking. Future's above, but in the past he's slow and sinking.
Vedder said of the song Not For You, "I think that something like a music channel can be very powerful. Sometimes they think they're the ones who decide what's heard. I think that's a dangerous situation, and I think what's more dangerous is that they think it belongs to them. That's probably what Not For You is about." Vedder said of Nothingman, "It was written in an hour, and so I liked listening to that because it just happened and somehow captured a mood there. The idea is about if you love someone and they love you, don't f*** up, because you are left with less than nothing." Corduroy dealt with the corporatization and marketing of the band's sound, look, and genre. That song was based on a remake of the brown corduroy jacket that I wore. I think I got mine for $12 and it was being sold for like $650. For Better Man, Vedder actually penned this song on a 4-track in his apartment prior to joining Pearl Jam, but it didn't become a song until the Vitalogy album, with the lyrics of the song being about an abusive relationship. So, to sum up Vitalogy, well, this is one awesome Pearl Jam record, one of my personal favorites from the band, right up there for me. Definitely their heaviest record. A great way that you start this album with that drum intro on the song Last Exit, and you just kick into it. It's just hard and heavy from there on out. Sets the tone for the album very well. Then you go into Spin the Black Circle. Awesome riff, awesome opening riff to that song. Very heavy, Not For You, very heavy again. Eddie Vedder's vocals here on this album, just so heavy and raw. And I have mentioned the heaviness of this album, that's obvious to see, but you've got those songs, especially Nothingman and Better Man. I mean, Better Man, that's like the biggest hit song from this album, right? Everybody knows that song. Nothingman, just an amazing song. Lyrically, musically, the way Vedder sings it, that is a great Pearl Jam track. Satan's Bed, a heavy rocker there. Just another amazing track which you could put him with Nothingman and Better Man. That's Immortality, more slower paced. But wow, you want to talk about another amazing track from Pearl Jam, another amazing track on this album, Immortality is it. And one of the standout tracks from the album, one of the best tracks from Vitalogy in my opinion, that is track number 8, Corduroy. The style of it and the flow of that song maybe reminds me a little bit of Rearview Mirror from Versus. Corduroy is heavier, of course, but just a brilliant Pearl Jam song. So many standout tracks on this album. So as I say, this album for me right up there in the top 2 or 3 Pearl Jam albums that they released. A very cool, diverse, heavy, as I've said, obscure in parts. Pearl Jam really at the height of their success. And you want hard rock and grunge, check out this album. It's Vitalogy from Pearl Jam.